Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen, Alex King, and Kelly Pretty here. Today is Wednesday, February the 27th, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 1 p.m. in London, and Sydney, Australia is at 12 midnight. But wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And I'm happy that we are on 5 minutes late instead of 10 minutes late. This is an improvement over yesterday afternoon. This is a step up. This is me trying to change the story so that everything starts working out technologically every time we start doing a program. So, right. Yes, I am happy that things have improved. I am happy that things are better, and I'm really excited about the fact that this afternoon we're going to actually start on time. It's going to be great. So, anyway, Kelly, how you doing? We haven't talked in a while, but how's it going over at your end there?
Good, yeah. The weather is amazing in the UK at the moment, so it is warm for February. It's like 20 degrees or something, which is insane. So yeah, it's really good. And yeah, just busy. I took some time out back end of last week to do some soul searching, which was nice. And yeah, I guess that's
Did it
me.
work? Did you find your soul? Was it
Did it work?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so. Like I went to this lovely place in the middle of the forest.
Ooh.
And meditated, and yeah, it was lovely. It was really, really nice. It's called New Forest, and it's basically like the only place I've ever been to in the UK where there's like grates in the ground. And when you go in, because there's wild horses just like roaming around. And I'm sure that in parts of America that's normal, but in the UK that is not normal.
Yeah.
Horses and donkeys.
Wow. Wow. Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was really special.
Fabulous. Well, hey, that's a good way to do a getaway, no matter how it works out. I mean, that alone makes it nice. So beautiful. Well done.
Yeah.
And Alex, we were talking before the show. You hadn't gotten a whole lot of sleep, but you didn't seem to be affected by it very much. I want to know what your secret is.
I'm never affected by it.
Yeah, I mean, how do you get that?
Can of Monster.
Huh? What'd you say, Kelly?
The massive can of Monster.
No, I had to quit.
Oh, did you?
I had to quit. It was, I can't handle caffeine, apparently. I ended up in the hospital. It was terrible.
Oh my God. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, it just happened this weekend, so you wouldn't have known.
We're trying to keep it quiet because we don't want to embarrass Monster for the fact that they almost gave us an endorsement. So.
Wow, Alex, I can't believe that.
Yeah. Well, it didn't help that I don't drink water, so yeah, okay. I made it worse. But no, my body just doesn't handle caffeine well. Yeah, I'm feeling much better now. Yeah.
That's good.
So you can always tell when Alex is good because when she's fine, she's smiling and laughing. That's always the best sign with her. Doesn't matter how little sleep she's got. Doesn't matter what else is going on in her life. If she's smiling and laughing, she doesn't paste it on. It's real. So that's always the best measurement. It's like a barometer.
This is me.
It is. It's fabulous. So,
Walt, how are you doing?
I'm doing much better now that we're online. This is good. This is my victory for the day. I mean,
Did you hit record?
Oh, I didn't hit record. You're right. I got so caught up in the fact that we weren't online yet, and then we finally got online. I forgot to do that. So there we go.
Recording has started.
Now we're recording. There we go.
Okay, good.
So I'm doing okay. I've been spending each morning this week doing my mirror exercises as usual, and I've been really focusing hard on paying attention, focusing my mind, focusing on my own image in the mirror and so forth as I've been doing it. Because it's been kind of an up and down week in certain ways, not because of the technology of hooking in to do the podcast, but other things too. And I find myself really leaning on that practice now, which is kind of interesting because a few months ago I'd kind of abandoned it. Now here I am leaning on it. So, it's good to have in place. It makes it a lot easier when you're dealing with stuff than when you don't have something in place. And for anyone who does not have a daily practice in place, I urge you to start one now for the day when you really need it. It's helpful to have that practice.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a topic in mind for today, but Alex, you had a topic in mind, and you started to outline it for me, and while my head was buzzing, I was trying to figure out, okay, how do we go with it? And it sounds interesting, so why don't you just, like, outline it again for the audience so they know what we're talking about here?
The first one or the second one?
Well, both of them, actually. The second one's a lot easier to tie in, but the first one was the one that kind of blew your mind, so let's start with that one.
Okay, so I was watching this show, and it's called Game of Clones. Not to be confused with Game of Thrones. So it's basically they take these reality stars, American reality stars, and they give them their ideal mate. By that I mean their celebrity crush. So they take that celebrity crush and they find 7 people that look like that celebrity crush and clone them all, like make them look like that celebrity crush. So now it's like, well, if you don't rely on what your ideal mate looks like, now where do you go from there?
Mm-hmm. That can be a problem. So if your celebrity crush, and I won't even question the judgment behind this, if your celebrity crush is Khloe Kardashian, and you got 20 Khloe Kardashians in front of you, how do you decide? Yeah. That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. In other words, this is psychological warfare is what this is.
Basically.
We're going to get right past the whole thing of what looks are about and make you decide what a person is like underneath the surface based on how they've been made up to look. Then that's where my mind is boggling. I'm not sure where to go with that.
Well, no, it's more of like you're supposed to get to know a person and you know, for who they are on the inside, is even though they happen to look like Megan Fox or whoever you happen to like.
Okay. So what do they actually do on the show? I mean, how does the contestant who's trying to decide, how do they get to ask questions, or how do they find out who the person really is?
They start off with like a little intimate cocktail hour where they get to roam around and talk to the 7 girls or guys, depending on which we're talking about. And then they move on to elimination round immediately. So questions have been asked previously of the 7 clones, and they have their answers on like a flipboard, kind of like the Newlywed Game.
Okay.
And if your answers don't match the reality star's answer, you're going.
This does not sound conducive to a relationship based on conversation. This sounds more like a relationship based on how many soap operas can I sell. It doesn't really sound like. It doesn't sound like that.
But this is how relationships start nowadays. This is like a step above dating apps right now. This is what's going on in the world.
This is what passes for functionality. We got serious problems, I'm telling you.
I mean, it gets further into it, like later on, you get to, actually have conversations with the people.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
To know them. So, yeah.
Could eliminate half of them by that time.
You get to go on dates with them. You get to learn more about them, obviously. But, just the first, I don't know, probably 15 minutes. That's the first 15 minutes.
I'm just concerned about what happens when you apply law of attraction principles to this, and you realize you've been focusing. I mean, I can just imagine the person who is the contestant who's trying to decide. They have a crush on this particular celebrity. They see 7 people who are dressed like this celebrity, and they're spending their time trying to divine which one looks really like this instead of trying to find out about who the celebrity is, or no, who the person is. So they're still stuck on the wrong thing.
Yes, exactly. That's what I find so interesting.
That's why I find it I want to stay away from.
Well, that's the whole point of reality shows is they're all train wrecks, and you want to watch the train wreck.
Nearly all of them are. I have to say there are a couple that aren't quite train wrecks. There are a couple that are kind of fun. My wife likes watching The Little Couple, for instance. They're not a train wreck.
No, they're not. That's a good show.
They've got cute kids and all that kind of thing. But you're right, most of them are pretty much train wrecks. So I'm going to go to our life coach and ask Kelly, is there anything sane in any of this?
Oh, God. Talk about putting me on the spot. To me it doesn't make sense, but that's just because I think that we as a society have become so accustomed to judging people on the external rather than the internal. And obviously you do have to have some kind of attraction towards another person initially. But I mean, do you really need them to look like your celebrity crush? That seems like ridiculous to me. And, just like anything else, you get used to how that person looks on a day-to-day basis. Like in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. It's about the kind of interconnection that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
I agree.
It's kind of hard to have an interconnection when it's all about what they look like. It kind of falls to the ground pretty quickly.
Yeah.
By the way, we have a question that isn't really quite tied into this. It's tied in more to what we're talking about as we did our introductions. But Suraj is saying, it isn't so much a question, it's an observation. He says, self-talk is a very good exercise. Sometimes I don't have my mirror when I'm traveling, so I use my cell phone and use the selfie aspect of the camera and I do the daily exercise. So I just want to say congratulations, Suraj. Go ahead, do that. Keep doing it. You're going to get good results from doing the mirror exercise. And, keep it up.
Good for you, Suraj.
Yeah, that's good. Real good. So, all right. There were two ideas you had, Alex. We've covered the dysfunctional one. What's the functional one?
I don't know how functional it is, but it had me laughing.
Okay.
So I saw a live video on YouTube of a pastor or reverend or whatever you want to call him who had brought back someone from the dead.
Okay.
And he had like a stadium full of a congregation of people that had paid to see this happen. And it just blew my mind and at how much people believe so much that they will fall for just pretty much everything. Like, you cannot bring people back from the dead. I don't care how anointed you are, which is what he was claiming. Is that he was so anointed that he defied the devil and he will bring people back from the dead.
Well, that has a couple of interesting implications. First of all, the implication is that if you die, it's because the devil did it.
Right. Well, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting take. And you also mentioned something before the podcast that you didn't touch on here. I wanted to ask you about that. You said that it was obviously fake. What made it obviously fake?
Oh, it was obviously fake because the way that the actor the dead person was acting when he came back to life, it was just he was like a zombie pretending to be a zombie. It was the worst acting I've ever seen. He was like, his eyes were like blown open. He's like drooling on himself. But I'm like, so my mind goes, first of all, rigor mortis would have set in, so you wouldn't have jumped out of the coffin, just saying. And so there's so many things wrong with this, but and then they pan out to how many people came to see this and the overflow of people that came to see this. And I was like, this guy just made so much money.
Wow. Off
of this bull.
Incredible.
It's terrible. And I was like, this is the world today, apparently.
Well, and the comment that I made to you before the show when you told me this story was, it's really a commentary on the ability of human beings to literally believe anything they want to believe. And that plays a major role in law of attraction.
Yes, it does.
Because when we're trying to be deliberate creators, we are often trying to adopt a new belief structure that in some ways can even contradict the old belief structure. Kelly, you get paid good money by people who want help in accomplishing exactly that, changing their belief structure around. They may not know that when they first come to you, but that's what they ultimately learn. They need to change their thought process around to, accommodate what it is that they want to attract into their life. So, is there an ethical side, first of all, to deciding what it is that you're going to try to believe in? And Kelly, second of all, do you have to be careful about what it is that you're going to believe in?
It's funny you say this because I saw something a couple of weeks ago and it was actually, the Secret Service in America. What are they called again?
Secret
Service.
The Secret Service is what guards the president.
Yeah. Is it? No, so maybe there's a Secret Service in the UK. I can't remember what it's called. It's the people that snipe and kill.
You're talking about the Navy SEALs. Here in the US, it's the Navy SEALs.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. But they're like James Bond, basically.
Right.
They
like snipers.
Yeah, I guess so. I can't remember what it's called. It's like, oh my gosh, my memory is completely gone. There's a really famous building in London where everybody goes to work there, and it's really secure, and it's really, a lot of the time it's not actually, most people don't know that that's where the building is. But anyway, they have got a document on their website about the law of attraction.
Really? And
it's like an actual official document about what the law of attraction is and how to use it. And at the end, did I try and get it? I screenshotted it. They actually wrote a warning about the beliefs and the things that you're trying to visualize, and the fact that you can completely distort your reality and change your reality to things that you might not necessarily want.
Wow.
Which I thought was like, yeah, it was like insane, like so interesting. So I'll have a quick look just now and see if I can find it while we're on this, and I'll read it out. Oh, here it is. It's a CIA document, clearly explained in a declassified CIA document. And at the end it says, Monroe trainers caution against attempting to force the pace of this process because the individual could succeed in dislocating his existing reality with drastic consequences.
Wow.
Wow.
That's insane, right?
That's crazy.
The CIA. I'm sure they're in America, right?
Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah,
they're everywhere. That's the whole point. I'm blown away by the fact that the U.S. government has apparently adopted the ideas of deliberate creation and using the law of attraction. I mean, I never expected that.
It's mind-blowing.
Holy cow. I mean, talk about
it's
an endorsement.
Mind-blowing. I'll send Yeah, so they train their staff on it, basically.
Well, it's kind of a scary thing. This actually ties into what we were talking about, Alex, because, I mean, I really can't avoid the elephant in the room now. Donald Trump is one of the best deliberate creators that has ever led a country. He really is. He's not. His ethical choices are horrible, but his ability is incredible. I mean, he has really trained himself. And I don't know if you guys knew, there's actually a picture of Donald Trump with Esther and Jerry Hicks because he attended one of the workshops.
No.
Yeah, there is.
I didn't know that.
There's an actual photo of Donald Trump with Esther and Jerry Hicks. Yeah.
That does not surprise me at all.
But again, it raises the question. The law of attraction itself has no ethical basis one way or another. What you focus on is what you attract. So ethics is something that human beings bring into the conversation. It has nothing to do with law of attraction directly. And my question to you is, well, even though it's not a part of the law of attraction, shouldn't it in some way be part of the conversation?
Ethics.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so because, you know, when I came into this industry, I thought the world could be fixed by teaching everyone the law of attraction. But actually, I don't think that's the case because as you can see, well, it depends what your opinion is on Donald Trump and some of the things that he's brought to the world. But for me anyway, I don't think he necessarily always uses it for good. And I think that teaching people the law of attraction, we have an obligation to also teach them how to heal themselves because that's the only way that we're going to be able to create peace in the world is if people are able to connect into something bigger than themselves. It's not just the law of attraction that's going to fix things, basically, I think. And I don't know if I'm answering your question, Walt. I've kind of gone off on a bit of a tangent, but hey ho.
We do that all the time, Kelly. Join the club. and there's also there's also the facts of what Abraham says. Abraham tells us that, for instance, you used the phrase about fixing the plant and so forth. They say there's nothing that needs fixing. And when you hear Abraham say that, when I heard Abraham say that, I kind of left my mouth open. Like, wow. Because, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on that is pretty darn dysfunctional. I mean, the obvious example would be wars and that kind of struggle. But, I mean, there's also a whole lot more that goes on. And saying that it's not broken is really a very, very, very strong statement. Now, I know what their meaning is. Their meaning is that when you look back on what's going on at any given time from the perspective of further on down the road, it all starts to fit in. It all starts to make sense in terms of a planet-wide evolution toward higher and higher ascension, toward a better place to be in, and beings who are growing and expanding and, you know, just becoming more and more of the best that they can be. So that's really the perspective they're looking at it from. But nevertheless, when we're in the middle of it, which we are, that's a tough perspective. That's a real tough perspective. And that's why I kind of go back and forth about this ethics thing. On the one hand, I think that it's really important to just respect, I'm not sure if respect is the right word, but to respect the fact that people are going to make choices that I don't like. And that's simply going to be the case. And this is where Abraham also makes another point, which is even if somebody else makes a choice that you don't like, makes a choice that leads to something you don't want to have anything to do with, doesn't mean you have to be part of it. It doesn't mean you have to be part of that set of consequences that they're setting up for themselves and for others. You can actually not be a part of it by simply changing your choices, changing your vibration so that you're not vibrating to the same thing. And that also is a challenge because so often we have trouble doing that. I've been kind of dealing with that myself with my wife lately, not with my wife per se, but with her television choices. Alex, I was telling you yesterday how she likes watching Blue Bloods. Yeah. Well, Blue Bloods is a television show starring Tom Selleck that basically it tells the story of a family that runs the commissioner's office and are members of the police force and of the legal system in New York City. So they're basically telling a story about New York City, and it's actually a drama that has been widely praised by members of the New York Police Department, interestingly enough. But it's also filled with rage and anger and fights and all kinds of, you know, really high intensity, high drama scenes that I really don't want to have as part of my life. And yet we live in this small apartment, and if she's got the TV on, she always has it cranked up, so I can't avoid it. So I have to learn how to not let that be part of my vibration. That's a very, very mild example that you could also apply on a larger scale. Somebody who is living in a war zone. You know, they want to not live in that war zone. They don't want to be affected by it. Changing your vibration when you're in a war zone is not the easiest thing in the world to do. So there's lots of opportunity for growth here, but it does raise the question, where does ethics come into this? And I don't have a clear answer on that. On the one hand, on the other hand, that's the way I keep looking at it. So that's why I wanted to bring it up with you guys to see what you think. I mean, Alex, what do you think? Should ethics be involved? Should morality be involved in this?
That's a tough one because I feel like that's two separate conversations. I feel like law of attraction is one conversation and ethics is a whole nother subject.
Yeah,
I don't think that they coincide.
You can make a good argument for that. I can make a good argument either way. So I mean, you can certainly make a good argument there. But what do you think, Kelly? I mean, you mentioned how the CIA is actually incorporating this stuff. Does that open it up to an ethics discussion, or should we just keep them separate?
I think it depends on why you think you're here in this lifetime. Does that make sense? So like, if you're here and you think that you're here to help people learn about the law of attraction and, you want to help create, a better world, it depends on the morals of the individual, basically. And that's not saying that somebody who is here that doesn't want to do that has got bad morals. It doesn't mean that at all. It's just that I think that some people believe that they're here to make the world a better place. And if that's the case, then yeah, I think ethics does have to come into it. But I think that if you just want to be here and just practice the law of attraction and learn about that and create a life where actually you are just wanting to make sure your vibration's good and the other stuff around you isn't affecting you, then that's also okay. And that's where maybe ethics doesn't come into it. So I feel like there's like two answers to that.
I'm going to muddy the waters
depending
even further.
On who it is.
And those are good answers, I think, by the way. I think your answers are, both of you are giving very good answers. I'm going to muddy the waters even further here. I'm going to make a suggestion about what morality and ethics are really all about, in my opinion. And this is an opinion that's based on having studied those topics for quite some time. I mean, I studied them in college, and I've been very interested in them ever since. I really believe that ethics and morality are really all focused around one question, and that is the question of when we are coming to terms with the fact that we are all inherently self-interested beings, how are we simultaneously going to look at others? And this is a little bit black and white, so kind of take it with a grain of salt, but you can look at others in a positive way and say, yes, I want to be helpful toward others, I want to be kind toward others, I want to be compassionate toward others. Or on the other hand, you could say, I don't give a crap about others. And if what I do has an negative impact on somebody else, too frigging bad. Those are like the two extreme arguments there. And I suggest that most of morality is about condemning the second one and praising the first one. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that's true.
So if I look at it that way, then I have to start looking at what are the many, many reasons that people decide they want to become people, to incarnate, to become physical beings. And I'm wondering to what degree that distinction plays a role in the choices that they make. Like for somebody who comes in with the idea not of being compassionate toward others, but just they want to live their own life and to heck with anybody else, I wonder to what degree they are choosing that deliberately. And I can even conceive of a reason why they'd want to choose that deliberately. One of the things we were talking about yesterday, Alex, you'll remember this, you, me, and Bill were talking about this, is the idea of karma, which is a topic I've always had a little bit of difficulty with anyway. But the idea that we come into this world in order to experience a certain set of consequences that we didn't experience in a previous life. And Bill was even making the argument that people can come into this life in order to punish themselves, which I thought was really pretty bizarre. But I can understand where he's coming from. I could understand how he was piecing that together. I'm wondering if people come into this life in order to experience being somebody who lives and learns and applies the law of attraction, but without any concern for somebody else. I wonder if they come here to learn what that's like.
Interesting.
And I say that because I really give a lot of thought, not only to ethics and morality, but I also have given a lot of thought to the word consequences. And I mention that because consequences in our society tends to have a negative set of baggage associated with it. Like, consequences are always negative. You have negative consequences. But in reality, the word consequences can include both positive and negative. The root of the word, if you divide it into two pieces, con and sequence. Sequence, we know what that is. It's a sequence of events or a sequence of things or whatever. Con means together or with. So with a sequence or together with a sequence. You look at it that way, anything that follows any action or anything that you're attracting or whatever is going to be a consequence, whether it's positive or negative. If you become a millionaire, that's a consequence. If you become impoverished, that's a consequence. If you attract the love of your life, it's a consequence. If you never attract the love of your life, it's a consequence. They're all consequences. And when I apply that word and understand it that way, I realize that every single thing we draw into our lives using the law of attraction is going to have consequences of one kind or another. So going back to what I was talking about, I'm thinking that there are people, I'll generically call them the Donald Trumps of the world, who come into this world either, and I'm not sure which it is, either expecting that they're going to experience the consequences of living that life, or who come in not expecting it and wondering what it's going to be like. Now, if I've gone too far off the cliff, let me know, but I'm curious to know what you guys think about that.
Not at all. I think just like we were talking about yesterday, if you come into this life and you wanted to learn, what it's like to be a murderer, that there's also another side of it where you could be like, I want to know what it's like to feed the homeless. So there's two sides to the coin. You can, it's up to your celestial being. You can choose whichever way you want to go.
So you really do buy into that. What do you think, Kelly?
I do. Yeah.
I think that we're all inherently good. And when we're born, we are good beings and we're filled up with love. And all of the experiences that we have throughout life and childhood, it make us the way that we are. So that could be that, it ends up where we stop caring about other people and we only care about ourselves because that's how our parents treated us, for instance. We've got to put walls up because we were hurt over and over and over and over again. So we stopped caring about others. So I think that that's all laid out. I do think that that's a path that's often given to us, but it's down to that person, to look within at some point in their lifetime and work out, is this actually working for me? Do I actually enjoy waking up every morning and feel good about the person that I am? And a lot of people can work through a whole life and never, ever, ever be faced with that realization. And some people will, and they'll have a huge shift and a huge transformation, and they'll maybe start considering what moral compass they want to live by at that stage. But I think that it's dependent on each individual and each of the circumstances that they go through in their life.
That's an interesting point that you're raising too, because the point you're really raising is, regardless of what our intentions were coming in, we're living in the now. And that's what we're dealing with, is right now. So it almost doesn't even matter what intentions we came into the world with. What matters is, what are we going to do about it now? Yeah.
I think it's all about the present moment, I guess. And what have we learned up till now, and how can we move forward and constantly become a better version of ourselves? But that's easy for me to say, you know what I mean? Sat here with a roof over my head and a nice life. Like, it's not so easy for people that are maybe living in, private countries, or even the people that are hurting. Because let's be honest, people that, I hate bringing him up, but like Donald Trump, the only reason why somebody would constantly be so passive aggressive all the time is because he's a hurt soul. He's hurting inside. And he's built this life for himself and this persona that it's almost too far to start looking within for him.
It's interesting.
It's not going to happen in this life.
Because Louise and I saw, well, it might, I don't know. Louise and I saw a special last night on cable about Donald Trump and about his upbringing. And one thing that we can say based on what was presented is a lot of this did come from his father. Because his father was a piece of work, to be honest. But among other things, his father taught him that he must do, this is my wording, not so much the way they said it in the special, Donald must do whatever it takes to win. His primary goal in life must always be to win. That, in fact, life is divided up into winners and losers, and his life would be a failure if he allowed himself to be a loser. So he must do whatever it takes to win, which is going to create a pretty messed up psychology in the long run, because you're basically saying any time that you don't win, you failed. you have done disastrous things. You have disgraced the family name. He's setting an impossibly high standard. That kind of ties into what you're talking about, Kelly. That you grew up with that kind of thing. That's a big burden to carry.
Yeah, and isn't it so amazing when you hear that? And I'm sure for some people listening, they might know that story already, they might not, but I didn't know that. And the amount of compassion that you can have for somebody when you hear that, compared to just how you might perceive them previously. It's like a switch going off, like, oh, right, okay, well, actually, I can be compassionate towards that person now because I kind of understand why they're that way. And I think that that's really the power of story, the power of somebody's truth, the power of someone's reasons why they are the way they are. Because like Alex said, like somebody who murders is murdering because of something that's happened to them previously, right? They're not born evil.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, we are born to live the life that we live, but that doesn't mean that we're born evil. Siraj also made a comment, as did Maggie, that I wanted to share the comments they made here. Siraj said, I'm going through some physical issues and some financial debts. He says he's hospitalized, but still listening to the conversation. Oh, he's asking for some help. Can you please guide me how to heal in this situation? Please give me some procedures so I can come out of this okay. So, well, first of all, we're sorry to hear that you're hospitalized. Let's see if we can help with that. And then Maggie's got a comment that follows up on what we were just talking about. So we'll come to Maggie's in a second. But let's see what we can do with Siraj first. I'm going to go to the life coach first. Kelly, how do we help Siraj in the hospital?
Yeah, so this is, I'm sorry that you're not well, firstly. And secondly, this is something that I've actually been reading up on quite a lot. So I don't know if you've got access to books or anything like that, but there's a couple of books I can recommend just now. One is Anita Miranda, and it is Dying to Be Me. That's a really amazing book that would probably help. But the other is, I can't remember the name of the book, and it's really, really hard to get a hold of. But I'll tell you what it teaches you. And it's basically the power of the thought process when you're healing, when you're sick. And if you can maybe, like, while you're lying there, do a little prayer almost in your head. Ask the universe to come and help you heal. And know that you've got the power within yourself to make yourself better. You have the power to heal yourself. So just like telling yourself that before you do the thing I'm about to tell you next, and just knowing that you are the creator, and almost like saying in your head, I am able to heal myself. I am able to heal myself. And then once you've done that and you've kind of got into this state of thanking the universe for healing yourself, then start visualizing yourself being better. So I don't know what's wrong with you at the moment, but say for instance, if somebody had cancer, and I really hope that's not you, but I'm just saying that because that's something that someone close to me is dealing with. You imagine yourself sitting with the doctor being cancer free, and you imagine the tumor getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So whatever your physical things that are needing healed are, you do the prayer at the beginning, you do the, kind of knowingness that I am the creator, I have the ability to heal myself. And then you move into the visualization of seeing yourself getting better. And you can do that for, 5-10 minutes. And then afterwards, thanking the universe for healing you, and do that 3 times a day and see if that makes you feel any better.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. In fact, I would do that as often as you can throughout the day. I mean, it's not like you have a whole lot of places to go. Take advantage. Seriously, do that.
Oh, and there's a documentary. Sorry, there's a documentary called Heal on Netflix at the moment as well, and it's really, really powerful. I would watch that as well.
Okay, that's good. That's very good. Yeah, this may sound strange, but I would actually take to heart the fact that because we know, we who are deliberate creators, who follow the law of attraction, who try to learn from it and so forth, because we know that all disease originates in the mind, the fact that you're in the hospital, and he also mentioned that he's dealing with financial debts, the fact that you're dealing with all of this shows just how powerful you really are. Look what your mind did. It wasn't the kind of results you wanted, but your mind did this. That's how powerful you really are. All you have to do now is just take that power and redirect it, and you're going to get healthy. You're going to get better. Now, it's just a question of doing a little redirection there. So take some heart from the fact that you are an incredibly powerful being. And you've proven it by the result. You just didn't focus in the right direction, that's all. You just got to change the direction. And it's not easy to do. I mean, I've been there. We've all been there. It's not easy to do when you're unwell, when you're suffering pain, when you're suffering from fear regarding whatever a diagnosis might be, or anything along that line. It's not easy to refocus the mind, but it's also a great opportunity to do it. I learned last year through direct experience that it's actually one of the best times to practice. To practice focusing on what you want in the face of this overwhelming terror that you experience. Because it almost like it gives you extra juice. You know what I mean, Kelly? It's kind of like it gives you extra incentive to really, really focus in a way that you don't when you're feeling good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's also the space, right? Like, it may be that the universe is, you probably won't be able to look at it like this right now, but in years to come, you might be able to look back and see this as being a gift given to you, because the space and the time that actually being sick allows us to heal our body, but also focus on what it is that we really want and actually use our mind in a way to consciously create is usually space that we don't get in every single average day when we're working non-stop. We've got kids to look after, we've got things to do. And a lot of the time it's actually really difficult to have the space and the time to manifest. So this is actually a really amazing opportunity to use this time to actually manifest.
Yeah, that is a good point, because you do have a lot of time when you're laid up. I mean, what you have is your mind. That's about it. That and Netflix.
Right.
But it's a great opportunity. You're right. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Anything you got to add, Alex? Anything you want to tell Suraj that might give him a little bit of a leg up in terms of accomplishing what he wants to accomplish, getting out of the hospital, getting out of the debt and all that?
I would make your grateful list and start, thinking about the things that you are grateful for despite what you're going through right now.
That's good. Yeah. We forget that, don't we? The gratitude list.
We do.
Yeah. That's one of the first, but you're right. That's one of the first ways to start turning the mental picture around, is to start with what's going right. I like to remember when the body seems to be failing me and I'm not feeling well. I like to remember that 90% of the body is still working correctly. It's just the 10% I got to fix. 90% I don't have to touch. 90% is working great. So yeah, that helps a lot. And you're right. Going through the list of gratitudes is a really strong, powerful thing to do. That's actually Joel's favorite place to start. Whenever he's dealing with difficulties, he starts with his gratitudes. Yeah, I agree. Now, Maggie, going back to our other conversation we were having, she says, seemingly negative actions can have positive impact. For instance, the person who fires you may be moving you on to more fulfilling opportunities. Does that make the person or her actions good or bad? This kind of ties in with what you were just talking about, Kelly. Does the fact that you may be moving on to more fulfilling activities make the person or their actions good or bad?
Interesting. It's a really, really good point. Like, it depends on how you look at it, and it depends on what lens you look at it through. And ultimately it's down to us to choose, is this person, am I going to let this person stop me from living the life that I want to live, or am I going to be able to see this person through rose-tinted glasses? Because I think that everything is always pointing us into the right direction, so everything is really inherently good, but it's obviously really hard to look at it like that sometimes, especially when it's things that are going on in the world that we have no ability to change, or we feel like we have no ability to change that we'd like to. So when it's somebody that's closer to us, though, I think it's easier to adapt your thinking style to them being a good lesson or them being a good thing happening in your life because they're redirecting you.
Yeah,
that's good. How about you, Alex? What do you think?
I don't think it's either. I don't think it's either good or bad. I think it's, I want to say indifferent if you want to put it that way, because, it's something happened and it had a positive result. So take it as you want it.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I like the way Cindy Chavez explains this one. I think she has a beautiful take on it. She says it's not about good or bad. It's about preferred or not preferred. And when you reframe it that way, now it isn't so much of a moral question. It's a question of, what do I want?
Right.
And what don't I want? And just the act of becoming clear in that way helps to attract what it is that we really want into our lives, and to not attract the things we don't want into our lives just by focusing on purpose. So, yeah, I agree with both of you. I think you both made good points on that one. And then Nasha has a question. She says, how can we avoid a war making it stop at the borders? And she mentions that I think this is about where she's currently living. She says we are in a state of emergency. Yeah. That's a very imminent problem that, when you're facing that's pretty terrifying when you're facing something like that. So what do you think, guys? Is there a way to help Nasha focus the way that she needs to focus?
Gosh, that's so difficult because, it's really challenging when we've not had to go through something similar. I know that I've never been through anything similar to that in my life before, but with the pain and the challenge that you've got before you, the potential for growth and the potential for helping others down the line with similar experiences is huge, because I'm sure that there's lots and lots of people that live in different countries that are going through something similar. So it's almost, albeit so challenging, and I'm really sorry that you're going through that, it at some point in the future may be an opportunity to help lead and to help heal and to help others going through the same thing. So it's trying to think and see the highest good at all times. But when you're in something as scary as that situation, it feels almost, I feel a bit like a fraud saying it, if that makes sense, because I've never been through anything like that in my life before.
I hear you. Yeah. The thought that goes through my mind, Nasha, as I was reading that, is that we all have that inner connection to what I like to call my inner wall. Some people call it inner being, some call it higher power. I mean, some call it God. There are an infinite number of names you can apply to it. But whatever you want to call that connection is always there. And we are able to receive messages. We're able to receive communication from that inner being at all times. The hitch is that we can't really differentiate what the messages are unless we're in a good feeling place. And if we are in a scared place, it's hard to get any kind of messages. So as strange as this may sound, what you really want to do is, despite the fact that there's this craziness going on outside, you got to get yourself into a good place internally. Because if you can, when you can get yourself into that better feeling place, you can start getting those internal messages. And that's when you can start taking what they call inspired action. If I were you, I'd be looking to get all the internally received inspired action I can find and take that action, and without question, without thought, as soon as I get it. Just immediately just following what feels good inside. Following what my inner being is trying to tell me. Because I firmly believe that if you do that, your inner being is going to do its best to try to lead you to the best possible result in the situation you're in. So that would be my best answer. But I'm with you, Kelly. I mean, I'm not sure how to even relate to the situation, because I've never been in a situation like that. I think we can imagine.
I know.
We've seen enough. You watch enough horrible movies. You can. It doesn't take too much effort to imagine it, because you've seen it displayed on screen and portrayed. But it's not. It's clearly not the same thing as having lived there. But good question. Any more thoughts for Nasha before we leave that one behind? Because that's a really important topic, I think.
No, I got nothing. Yeah.
Sending you lots of love and hope, and Walt, your feedback was great, but it's just be gentle with yourself as well. Be gentle and really conscious and aware of your inner voice, your inner critic. If you're beating yourself up for feeling feelings of fear and guilt and sadness and all the emotions that are going to come up for you, being really gentle with yourself, allowing yourself to feel those things. Because when we repress them, we create resistance there. And much like what was, that's going to stop you from being able to move forward into a better place. So let the emotions come up, let the emotions be here, let yourself feel them, and know that you're 100% within your rights to feel the feelings that are coming up for you, and don't have fear around that, and don't feel guilty or ashamed or anything like that. Just be really gentle with yourself.
Yes, all emotions are valid emotions. That's an excellent point, and one that we need to take to heart, all of us, regardless of what kind of situation we're in, especially when we're in a dire situation like that. But in all times, we need to be very gentle with ourselves. I agree with that entirely. Which, for me, by the way, is a big growth. I mean, if you'd asked me that 3 or 4 years ago, I'm not so sure I would have given that answer. But I'm giving that answer now. Because I've come to realize just how rough we can be on ourselves. So, yeah, it's very important. Very, very important. Just let it come out. Let the emotions come out. It's not like you have to live in them forever. You don't have to wallow and swim in them and, stay with them forever. You get them out so you can get them out so that they're done. So they don't they don't haunt you anymore. Absolutely true. So we're getting messages of appreciation from everybody who asked for help, and thank you for raising your questions. That's really great. We got about a little bit more than 5, 6, 7 minutes left in the podcast, and I can think of a couple ways to go. I mean, we could go back kind of to the conversation we were having before, but I think I'm going to open it back to you guys. I mean, Alex, you came up with a couple good topics, and I don't know if you have any more in mind, but Kelly, was there anything you wanted to bring up today?
No, I don't think so. I can't think of any. Sorry.
Okay. Well, there doesn't have to be. That's all right. And Alex, do you have anything else you want to bring up? If you don't, then I'm going to connect into my inner being and have my inner being come up with something. But I wanted to see if there was anything you guys had.
I love when your inner being comes up with stuff. So let's do it.
Well, it's kind of a fun exercise to do. I actually urge anybody to try to do this. Just do this in a conversation with somebody. And literally all I do is I take advantage of the fact that I'm feeling good because we're having a good conversation, and I love doing these shows. So that gets me into the positive place. And then once I'm in the positive place, I open my mouth and I start talking and I see what comes out. And I'll start with a sentence that I don't know how I'm going to finish the sentence. So here we go. So on the topic of people and how they deal with what's going on in their lives, what do you think is the most important takeaway that people should have from the conversations we've had today about how to deal with what's coming into their lives? See, there's a question that I have no idea what that question was before I asked it, but not a clue in the world that was coming up.
I think that we should all be aware of the fact that we are in control of what's happening. So we are we are manifesting what is happening, good or bad. So you can't be like, oh, it's bad, so that's not law of attraction. Oh, it's good, so I manifested that. That's not the way it works. You're manifesting both ways any day of the week. So that's the one thing that you have to remember.
Okay. How about you, Kelly? What do you think?
I think that self-love is really, really key when it comes to manifesting, and it's a key that a lot of people forget about. So when it comes to creating our best life and becoming the best version of ourselves, and when we come up with challenges, because that's part of being a human being, if we can always be conscious of like the inner voice inside of us and what that inner voice is saying, and then using and adopting methods like affirmations, like the mirror exercises that Walt was talking about at the beginning, to overcome any of our inner struggles, any of our insecurities, because we're human beings. So every single person in the world has got insecurities. It's just whether or not we let them run our life. That's up to us. That's down to us to reprogram conscious and subconscious patterns and behaviors, and self-love is like fundamental to that. Whether it's that you want to manifest in your dream business, you want to manifest money, you have to believe that you deserve those things firstly, and that comes from self-love, and it's one of the areas that people don't realize is so important.
Yes, I agree. Self-love, that's really huge. And that is, you're right, that's one of the main purposes for doing the mirror exercises, because they're a wonderful way to build up self-confidence and self-love. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that entirely. I also love the idea of focusing on preference. That's what I go back to. That's my big takeaway. Because every time Cindy Chavez explains that to me, I think to myself, oh, wow, that's so great. She has a story she likes to tell. It's a story that I believe originates in the Orient. And the basic title of the story is Good Luck, Bad Luck, Who Knows? And literally, it's a story of a sequence of events where something good happens, and the person who's the protagonist says, "Well, good luck, bad luck, who knows?" And then something bad happens, and he says, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" And then something good happens, and on and on and on like that. And it kind of illustrates the fact that it really is not about good or bad; it's about preference. What is it that you prefer? And that ties into what you were talking about, Alex. We are in control. It's up to us, So why not focus on what we prefer? I would say perhaps even maybe change that around. Let's focus on what we prefer. Not why not. Yeah. Let's actually just do it. Let's focus on what we prefer, because that's where we're going to get the best results anyway. So, yeah. Good. I like your takeaways, both of you. Really, really good. Before we go, Kelly, I want to give you an opportunity to do a little PR. So for somebody who's wanting some coaching help, how do they reach out to you?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so you can reach out to me on Facebook. My name's Kelly Pretty, so you can reach out to me directly there, or on Instagram, and my Instagram is @Kelly_Pretty, or my website, which is www.kellypretty.me, and there's like a kind of inquiry form there if you're interested.
Good.
So thanks.
And I presume you're like most of the co-hosts. Actually, there's not been an exception so far. Everybody who's a co-host loves hearing from listeners. So don't feel shy. Feel like you can actually reach out, because I'm sure Kelly would love to hear from you. And then also, Alex,
and it's not even just,
No, go ahead.
Sorry, it's not even just you're interested in working with me or anything like that. Like, just please reach out anyway. And it would be great to hear from you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I thoroughly recommend reaching out. And, Alex, I know we mentioned yesterday you're doing, you've changed the format of your podcast from weekly to monthly. And you said the next one's coming out in a week. Is that what you said? I think you said it was in a week.
Yes.
What we did not
definitely by the end of the month.
What we did not do is clarify how they can find your podcast. So why don't you do that? Tell people how to find it.
You can find me on Spotify. Just search Spoiler Alert. You can find, and actually anywhere you get your podcast, you can pretty much find me.
The name is
just
Spoiler Alert.
The name is Spoiler Alert.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you can go to anchor.fm/Alex in Wonderland and listen to. Yeah, thank you.
Alex, is that the name? That should be that's the subtitle, right? Alex in Wonderland.
No, that's my host name.
Oh, so. It should be. It should be. That's a good one. So it's Spoiler Alert with Alex in Wonderland. Okay, I got it. That's good.
Yep, exactly.
One thing you can always count on is no matter what show Alex does, it's always fun, and it's going to be fun with your podcast. Ladies, this has been great. Thank you so much for the time. Kelly, especially like it because, while I get to talk to Alex 3 times a week, I only get to talk to you once. So I look forward to talking to you again a week from now.
It's a special treat for him.
It really is. Absolutely. So thank you for joining us, okay?
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
nice to see you both.
Nice to see you too. Alex, I'll be talking to you on Friday, I believe.
Friday morning.
Yeah. So looking forward to it. And I look forward to inviting our audience as well to come back next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.